Yeah, it is. I did find something. So, while we're dropping some eaves here, so do you remember Bryan Cogman? He was the
from
involved,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, with Game of Thrones, and there was all this kind of drama when he first was attached to, season 8 was happening for Game of Thrones, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, it's not going well. Yes. Why do we want this Bryan Cogman guy there?" Right?
Yeah, right.
So
even though he was the one who kind of worked, right? Wasn't he one of the writers or showrunners that did good things that people liked?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And the thing is, so he tweeted actually about LOTRonPRIME, and this was just a few days ago.
Whoa.
So he said this is from his Twitter. He said, "I would like to just remind people that I'm merely a consulting producer on Lord of the Rings. I helped them get started 2 years ago now. I had a blast. I moved on to develop my own shows. You'll hear more about those in the coming weeks. The showrunners and staff are outstanding people and incredible talents, and I have no knowledge of or any comment on the report about the budget." He says, "Thank you kindly." So, and then
that's amazing. Again, so people are just reaching out to anyone involved, trying to get information, and I don't know how they're keeping it. Honestly, it's got to be this pandemic. It's got to be the pandemic that is helping them keep this so secretive and so locked down. Like it's incredible. No one knows anything.
Yeah.
No one knows anything.
No one knows anything. Let me show. So this is kind of insightful. There's a Twitter feed. So someone replied and said, "Thanks for clearing things up. A lot of people thought that you left, kind of in a dissatisfied or unfavorable way."
The one clickbait.net probably.
That's what people present, right? That's what they presented about Tom Shippey and everyone, who knows.
Plates in the kitchen.
Right. So I look forward to watching the show, the person said. Cogman replied, "Oh, not at all. Like, as in he didn't leave on bad terms at all." He says, I only committed to the first 20 weeks, but have nothing but love and support for everyone involved. I just didn't want to devote the next 10 years of my life to a gargantuan fantasy epic shooting overseas for obvious reasons. So think about that. Maybe the commitment was like a 10-year, big, huge thing. He also said, "To be clear, I was never in the conversation to be showrunner. Payne and McKay got the job long before I became involved."
The two-headed
here's
monster.
Another one. He said, I truly wasn't, let's see, another person thanked him for clearing up the misconception in a post. He replied, "I truly wasn't aware of this misconception. I've been openly supportive of the show the entire time." Let's see. Consequently, a post by the One Ring net was listed, to which Cogman said the following: "Well, I can't speak to anything else, but I was never meant to stay after the first 20 weeks. Love the people, love the show, excited to see it." So, just be careful because people, kind of distort things and try to twist one little thing. And truly, he signed probably a contract for, he's a concept guy. Like, let's get the concepts right for the first 20 weeks and help format and frame
stuff. Yeah.
Big picture stuff. And cool. I'm glad to have consulted on that and move on. So,
I was like, kind of, my jaw dropped when you said 10 years, but I'm thinking about it. We've been talking about it for 3. And we haven't even had an episode yet. So yeah, I mean, he was in that very early stage. I didn't know that. See, that's new information to me too, because I haven't thought about him for a while. That was his role, and that's something that he was like, and it makes me wonder: was that also Tom Shippey's role as well? And then, like, how much of what Corey Olsen said, the Tolkien professor, was true? How much of it was clickbait? How much of it was look at me? How much of it was, oh, Wired, you want to come do a video and I can tell you about the history? He definitely got more exposure because of what he said about Tom.
Sure.
Is it true? Is it not? Like, that's the thing that drives me nuts, is when people just, like you said, you hear some clamoring in the kitchen and you assume the worst and you start spreading rumors. Instead of, we don't know. Like, we don't know. Let's just, instead of trying to actually talk to the people, it seems like it wasn't that hard to get Bryan Cogman to respond. If someone just responded to his...
They replied.
How lazy is the OneRing.net?
But
How lazy are there? If all you have to do, clip this up as and put it on YouTube. If all you have to do is reach out to Bryan Cogman, if all you have to do is reach out to Tom Shippey, and people who aren't on the inside can do that and get responses, that's embarrassing. Like, that's embarrassing.
Well, the thing is, I think it's we've said all along, which is just I like that they're being super secretive and that they're taking their time with this.
I love it.
I'm cool with all of it. I really don't. A lot of our biggest problem is that people who have like fans who are covering the show, we're giving the showrunners a little bit of, they're green, they're young, they're new, we don't know, and kind of basically
they haven't invited us to New Zealand.
Right. Well, yeah.
They're not consulting us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like spoiling the cake.
Spoiling the cake before we ever, when someone tells you that the cake's going to be bad or that it doesn't taste good. So it could be a perfectly fine cake, and then you go to take a bite and you think, yeah, there is something here.
Yeah.
There's something in this cake. There's not a daggone thing in it.
Right.
But you heard someone else say it over and over and over, and so your mind starts to think, well, that might have been something. So I just like to avoid that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a worm-tonguey tactic. It's like the opposite of being a hype beast, right? A hype beast is the opposite. You get people psyched even if there's not a good reason for it. If you're a worm-tonger, you get people pessimistic even though there's no good reason for it. So yeah, and I agree. Like if it hadn't been this secretive so far, like what would we have been talking about? It's been such good fodder because they've let little stuff slide, or they've revealed just enough that it's made us go, well, what in the, like, our imaginations have been able to run wild instead of just responding to images or details that they've released. So I